Okay, this video is going to actually be going over section 5 of the training manual, which is about the manual entry of recertifications. So I'm actually going to go over how you will input your recertifications using manual entries. Once you log into the system, this would be your landing page, and you will actually use any of the options to access the property that you are inputting your tenant data transaction for. So I'm going to actually input the Georgia ID number and click search. So again, you are now in the project screen. Once you're in the project screen, you will have to choose the actual project that you are inputting your tenant transaction into, and then you will click proceed to buildings or the number of buildings to access your building screen. So if I choose proceed to buildings and forget to select my project, I'm going to get a message that's asking you to select your project to continue. So I'm going to select the project and then proceed to buildings. And now I'm on the building screen. Once I'm on the building screen, then I'm going to choose which building the unit is located that I'm actually going to input my recertification. So again, the first thing you want to do while you're in this on your building screen is to look at the current reporting period for the building that you are actually going to input your transaction into. So I'm going to actually do a recertification for building 6. So building 6 saying that my current reporting period is February of 2020, which means that was the last time that I actually input a transaction into the system for this particular building. So, so I'm just going to assume that the last transaction I input was an actual move-in, or it could have been a certification for 2020. If it was an actual move-in, I know that my recertifications are done on an annual basis, and it is the anniversary of the move-in for my recertifications to be input into the system. So for building 6, I'm going to go to proceed to units. So once I'm in proceed to units, I can actually just click on the hourglass if I kind of just really want to know what the last transaction was that was input into the system. So I can see that um, the tenant moved in on February the 5th of 2020, and the last cert date was February 5th, 2020. And it's showing here it was initial certification. So that's basically stating that this was a move in, and the move in was February the 5th of 2020. So my recertification for this particular unit has to be February the 5th of 2021, because the recertification is set in the system as the anniversary of the move-in date. So to input my certification, I'm going to have to change the reporting period to, actually I'm going to close and go back to the building screen. I'm actually going to have to change the reporting period to February of 2021. So I'm going to choose building 6, change report period, and I'm just going to, since it's already the for the move-in, for the beginning date, I'm just going to change it to 2021 instead of changing the whole date. I'm just going to choose 21. For the last date of that particular month, I'm going to input and if you will click the box here if you want to update all the buildings to February of 2021. But if you only want to change the reporting period for building 6, you're going to leave the box unchecked. And I'm going to leave the box unchecked because I'm only changing it for building 6. And I will choose save. And it's saying that there's an error found and there's an invalid date listed here. More than likely, it has to do with the fact that I have February of the 29th as the last day of the month of February, and it should actually be February the 28th of 2021. If you want to make sure that that's correct, you could just click on the calendar. I'm going to delete here. Click on the calendar and go back to February of 2021. And I'm going to choose the last date of the month, which was the 29th. And then I'm still going to leave this unchecked because I'm only changing the reporting period for building 6 and choose save. And there's, okay, that should be a 0 in front of the 2 because it's showing that the formatting has to be 2 digits for the month, 2 digits for the date, and 4 digits for the year. And I'm going to click save. Okay, so successfully changed. And then I'm going to click cancel. And so you'll see now that for February of 2021, the change of report period is now correct. So I'm going to choose building 6 and then choose proceed to units to choose the unit that I want to input their recertification. And I'm actually going to do a recertification for Gerald Gibbs that's listed in the system. And so what I'm going to do is choose Unit 602 and new tenant cert. For any manual entries regarding move-ins or certifications, you will always choose new tenant cert here. So once I choose new tenant cert, it's going to give me the information that's already listed in the system for the head of household. And I'm going to make any corrections regarding the head of household in the system for this particular recertification. It's also giving me my system designation here, the reporting period, the BIN number, and the property name and the Georgia ID number. Again, if the reporting period is incorrect, you're going to have to go back and change the reporting period by clicking on cancel. And once you click cancel, it's going to actually take you back to the unit screen where you can go and then change the reporting period. So I noticed the reporting period was correct. I'm the tenant cert. And then I'm going to make any changes that I need to make regarding the tenant. Um, I'm going to say that Gerald is no longer married. He's now divorced. And that the new cert date is going to be the anniversary of the move-in date listed here. So it's going to be 02/05/2021. And then I'm going to put whether or not he's receiving assistance, and I'm going to say no assistance, and whether or not the the unit changes is going to stay tax credit here. And any information regarding the contact information that needs to be corrected, and we're going to make that change here. And then I'm going to choose save. And so once I choose save, you see now that there are 4 fields that auto-populated for this particular screen. I'm going to input I'm going to go to household members, and I'm going to look at all the household members here. I'm either going to go in and make any changes to the household members by clicking on their name, and then any changes that I need to make here. I see no changes except for the fact that the marital status has changed to divorce here. And then I'm going to save and then close out. But since now that Gerald and Miranda are no longer married, I'm going to say that Miranda is no longer living in the unit anymore. And to delete Miranda from the unit and the unborn child, I will click on these boxes here, and it will give me the ability to delete. If I just choose her name or any other members' names, it's just going to give me the ability to go in and make corrections. So for the unborn child, let's say that Miranda and the unborn child does still live in the unit, and I need to correct the unborn child information. So I'm going to click unborn child, edit, and then the first thing I need to do is change the relationship to child, because if I try to change the unborn child name first, it's not going to take. So I'm going to first have to change the child, unborn child, to an actual child. Now I go in and put in the child's name. And if I have a social security number at that time, I will input that information. I'm going to put in the date of birth. And the sex of the child, and anything else that applies to the child or information you have related to the child here. And then I'm going to click save or save and new if I want to add another household member. So I'm just going to actually click save. So now you see that it gives me the birth date and the age of the the child. It's probably still saying 0 because the child isn't actually 1 yet from what we put in the system. So now I'm actually going to go and delete Miranda and the child from the household because they no longer live in the household. If I was actually going to input another member, then I would just choose new member and then input their information here for that particular person that moved into the unit since the last transaction. So to delete, I'm going to have to click on the boxes here, and then you see the delete section field populated at the bottom of the screen. And what I would do now is just click delete, and it's asking you, are you sure you want to delete the selected household members? I'm going to say okay. But now I'm going to receive a message that basically says that Miranda cannot be deleted because she has been assigned an asset to the system. So I would actually have to delete her asset from the system before I can delete her from the unit. So I will actually go to assets and choose Miranda's name on the square here and then delete her from the system. Or delete her asset. So now I have only Gerald listed as an asset for the system. I'm going to go back to household members, and now I'm going to choose Miranda again and click delete and OK. So now it's saying Miranda cannot be deleted because she is also assigned income to the system. So before I actually delete Miranda, I not only have to delete her asset, but I also have to delete her income from the system. So I will go to income, choose Miranda, and delete her from the system. And yes. So you see, Gerald now is the only person that has income tied to the system or tied to the unit. And I would go to household member. Now I'm going to try to delete Miranda again. Okay. So now her record has been deleted because both her asset and income has been deleted. And the child is also deleted from the system. So again, on a recertification, that's how you would delete someone from the system. But if you want to add a new member to the system, you would just choose new member and then input their information here and save their information. Or you would do save and new until you have completed inputting all of the tenant information or the new member information into the system. Next, you would go to income. And what you're going to do now is you're going to check Gerald's income to see if there's anything that has changed in his income. And so you do know that his income has changed. So you're going to choose edit, and you're going to either manually input the new income, or you're going to choose calculate and let it actually auto populate the income for you. If you choose calculate, you would just input the pay rate, the pay frequency, the hours per year. And when you input the information for those three fields, it's going to auto populate the annual income, and you would just choose apply. I'm actually going to manually input his new income, and I'm going to choose the verification source. If it's different from the first one, I'm just going to choose employer verification, and then you're going to input the verification date of when you actually verified the source of income. And then you're going to choose save and new if there were other members in the system that you need to edit their income or add their income to, or just save and close if you're done with the income section. And you will see where it changed, updated the income for Jira. Now we'll do the same thing for assets. Okay, if Jira has assets that need to be changed or possibly even deleted, you can go into the system and you would choose Jira's name. If there you see that there's information that needs to be edited, then you will choose edit and make any changes here. Or if you actually needed to add additional asset for Jira or any other member of the unit, you will choose new assets, and you will input their information here on the new assets. And you will choose save and new if you're inputting more than one asset information, or save and close once you're completed with your assets entry. So I'm actually going to delete Gerald's asset and say he no longer has this asset for this particular unit. I'm going to choose the box and delete here and click OK. Next, I'm going to go into unit rent. I'm going to choose edit. And here is where I'm going to actually input a rent change date. So his rent has changed from his move-in transaction, or the last transaction that was input into the system. So I'm going to put the rent change date was, and the tenant rent paid. If that changes, I'm going to change it to, and anything else I need to update regarding mandatory charges, rental subsidy, utility allowance, and then it's going to actually auto-populate the gross rent. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to click Save and Close. And now you see that the last certification date has changed from the move in to the actual recertification date, which was 2/5/2021. If I notice anything here that's incorrect, so security number or his name or anything that needs to be changed, I can always click on the hourglass I'm sorry, the magnifying glass, and then I can make any changes here by clicking edit. I'm just going to close out. There is nothing that needs to be changed. Also, I can do an income and rent test for this particular certification. And I'm going to choose income and rent test. It's going to give me the general household information here. And then it's going to give me income and rent limit status. So it's going to give me the effective date of the income and rent limit is using, the maximum amount of the income and rent limit for that particular effective date, and it's going to give me the status of the income and rent limit for this particular unit. Basically, the status is stating that it's below the 140% income limit, but it's over the rent limit. So what I'm going to do is first make sure it's using the correct effective date for the limits in regards to the certification date here. If that's correct and I'm still over rent, then I need to make sure that I input the correct information in the rent section of the screen, in the rent section that I completed before. And let's just say for some reason that his income was over income, and he and you need to actually delete that certification from the system. As long as the certification has not been processed, has not been submitted to DCA or processed, you can delete the certification. So if I click on the actual transaction and delete tenant cert, it will give me the all of the transactions listed in the system for the tenant. If I want to delete the certification, as long as it has a red X next to it, it can be deleted. If it has a grade N X, that means that that particular transaction has been processed and submitted to DCA, and it cannot be deleted. If you need it to be deleted and you can't, or you don't have the ability to delete, you must send an email to the emphasis inbox and let us know that you need to delete um, the the certification for this particular property, this particular building, and that particular unit. And we will have to do that on our end. But since this is a red X, that which means that you can delete the transaction, I'm just going to click the X, and it's asking, are you sure you want to delete the item? You will click either OK or cancel. If you click OK, it's going to delete it for you. Cancel is not going to delete it. And so that's how you actually delete a transaction from the system, or a recertification from the system. So that's how you actually do your recertifications. The main thing about the recertifications that you want to remember is to make sure that you change the reporting period to the correct reporting period, or you will get an error um, basically saying that you are in the wrong reporting period and it can't input that particular transaction. So that would be all as far as how you would input your recertifications manually.